This tutorial is going to show you how to add text to your collage using Adobe Spark. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Add and I'm going to click on Text. Now the first thing that you may be drawn to are all of these gorgeous pre-made fonts for you, but please don't be fooled. They're very unoriginal, and so the point of this is for you to make your own choices and start kind of playing around with how you are going to add text to your collage. So I want you to start from scratch. So go ahead and click Add Your Text, and you'll want to find whether you're using a quote or putting your name on it or whatever text it is, go ahead and type it in. My quote is by Vincent van Gogh, and I think it's a nice quote because it kind of demonstrates a little something about my I can't type and and talk at the same time, but it shows a little something about some of my photographs. So great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Okay, and I will be attributing this quote to him in another way in a little bit. So you do have some choices, and all of those choices are over on the right-hand side. All of these tools will help you, and you can just kind of click around, change the color, change the shape of your background, any text effects, and of course, different styles. They give you lots of suggestions, which might be kind of easy to choose one of those. But it's also kind of nice when you can kind of make your own decisions. So go ahead and just pause this video and go ahead and play around with some of those different text effects. Okay, so I have found a font and a style that I think works pretty well. And it's really based on your choice. You don't want it to interfere too much with the pictures. I chose like this kind of transparent background that goes behind the words themselves. So that just kind of helps the words stand out a little bit. But I didn't want the words to just completely take over because this is really more about my photography and my pictures. And so I just wanted it to be really nice and subtle. And so now what I want to do is I'd like to add a little citation, I suppose, about like who said this quote. So if you're using one from someone else, or maybe you want to take your quote or your words and break them up somehow. So I could take like great things are done, and maybe I can put them in separate places and then kind of play around with them individually. But for now, I just like them all together. You might like that too. I don't want my text to be too small. I don't want it to be too big. And so I feel like I've settled on something that was just right. It took me a couple minutes just to kind of go through and see what my options are, but this is what I came up with. So now I want to add a little bit more text. So I'm going to go back to the Add button, go ahead and add text, and it should start totally fresh. So I'm going to give a little swirly guy and type Vincent Van Gogh. All right. All right, so now it's giving me something kind of automatic, which I think is totally off and kind of weird. So I'm going to go through and do the same thing. You might try doing the same thing as well, going through effects, shape, color, all that good stuff, and figuring out where you want to put it. So have fun. And go ahead and pause because we're not quite done yet. But go ahead and play around with your different words and different fonts and things like that and getting everything situated. Okay, so I feel like I've settled on something for just for my quoter's name. And so now I just have to kind of place that. So sometimes when you're trying to place a text box, it will click into places that the computer thinks you want it to be, where I want it to be situated right on this chair, but it's not quite letting me. So instead of trying to use it with the mouse, what you can do is use the arrows on your keyboard. So I'm going to just very slowly pressing the the arrows a bunch of times and just kind of getting it to center on there pretty good. And if you click somewhere else, it should kind of come up with where it's at, so you can kind of get a better view of it. But you've got like this little background here. I think what I'm going to do is shrink it down just a tiny bit. And again, because it was covering a little too much of the chair, and so now I think that looks pretty good because you could see a little bit more of the seat, and it's still, I think it stands out enough. So you do want to kind of step back and just kind of take a look at it and see kind of how you did. Um, and I can also see here that I kind of want something a little bit different than just this white that is around all of my pictures. You may want to stick with the white, but it's always nice to have options. So I'm going to change that color. That's the last thing that I'll do, and then we will download and save our pictures. So if you want to change that background color, all you got to do is click on it. It's pretty smart, and so then you can kind of click around and just kind of look at your different options. You don't want anything that clashes too much, but go ahead and click on your favorite colors if you want, um, and let's just see what you come up with. Feel like that might be a little too bright. I kind of like that. It's bright and cheery. I don't like to be all gloom and doom all the time. That looks a little too orange for me. I kind of like that subtlety. I'm not too happy about the pastel. It reminds me of my old bedroom when I was a kid. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm going to go with this color. I guess if you want to refine it a little bit more, you could always kind of drag this wherever it is that you want to land. And now I've kind of found myself in a predicament where I have to try and get back to the color that I originally had. I bet if I just click out of it and go back, I could probably just grab that pre-made color that they had for me already. There we go. I'm going to keep that and just stop right there. So, okay, so now we are ready to download our image and save it on our computer. So, all you got to do is press the download button and make sure that you select a JPEG because it's the most versatile type. It's the most common type of image. So we want to be able to have um, the most possibilities to work with it. And so within a couple seconds, it should appear down at the bottom, and you could go ahead and show it in the folder. And so if you look up here, it will appear in your downloads. So what I recommend that you do is that you move it from your downloads to the folder where you were keeping all of the project images to begin with. So what I'm going to do, just so I don't have to remember where this is, I'm going to go ahead and right click and I am going to copy the image. And then I'm going to try and remember where the heck I saved all these pictures, and I believe it was on my desktop. So I'm going to go straight to that folder where it was, and here you can see where all of my original images are. And I'm going to just click in this empty space here, right click, of course, and I am going to paste that image. And so, because we are turning things in, it's always a good idea to rename it and rename it, including the project name, which was Dia de los Muertos. And also, I'm going to put my first initial and my last name, just so that my name is attached to the actual image. And I could open it up just to make sure that everything is all good. And voila, it's ready to be turned in.